probably never looked at a lion and thought about what it tastes like. The thought barely crosses your mind. And if it does, something inside you recoils almost immediately. Not disgust exactly. Something older, something quieter. A faint signal from deep inside your biology that says, no, not that one. But here is the strange part. You eat meat all the time. You eat pigs, you eat cows, you eat fish that eat other fish. So why does the idea of eating a wolf or a bear or a shark stop you before it even gets started? The answer is not what you think it is. And once you understand it, you will never look at the food on your plate the same way again.
Start with the most obvious explanation. People will tell you predators taste bad, that their meat is too tough, too gamey, too rank. And this is partially true, but it is not the real reason. Taste is downstream of a much older decision that your ancestors made long before anyone ever had a kitchen or a spice rack.
The real reason begins with a concept biologists call trophic levels. Every living thing on Earth fits somewhere in a pyramid of energy. Plants sit at the bottom. They absorb sunlight and convert it into calories. Herbivores eat the plants. They absorb those calories and store them in their muscle. Then predators eat the herbivores. And here is the critical detail. Every time energy moves up one level in this pyramid, roughly 90% of it disappears. This is called the 10% rule, and it was formalized by ecologist Raymond Lindemann in 1942 after studying the energy flows of a small lake in Minnesota. What Lindemann found changed how scientists understood the entire structure of life on Earth. What this means for you, standing in front of a hypothetical lion carcass, is this. The lion contains a fraction of the energy that the zebra it ate contained, and the zebra contained a fraction of the energy in the grass it ate. By the time you get to the top of the food chain, you are eating the most energy-depleted animal in the entire ecosystem. Your ancient ancestors were not nutritionists. They did not know about trophic levels, but they could feel the math. Killing a large herbivore fed a group for days. Killing a predator of the same size fed a group for far less. But energy efficiency is only part of the story. The deeper reason your instincts pull you away from predator flesh is chemical. Predators accumulate something their prey does not: toxins.
This process is called biomagnification, and it was brought into wide public awareness by Rachel Carson in her 1962 book Silent Spring, though the underlying science had been building for decades before that. The principle is straightforward. Many toxic compounds, particularly fat-soluble ones, do not break down easily inside a living body. Instead, they accumulate in fatty tissue. When a herbivore eats contaminated plants, a small amount of that toxin stays in its body. When a predator eats that herbivore, it absorbs the toxin too, and then it eats another herbivore, and another. Over a lifetime of eating prey animals, a predator concentrates these toxins to levels that can be many times higher than anything found in the herbivores below it. You can see this playing out in the real world today. Polar bears, which sit at the very top of their food chain, carry some of the highest concentrations of persistent organic pollutants ever measured in a living mammal. A study published in the journal Environmental Science and Technology found that polar bear liver, one of the most prized organs in traditional Arctic hunting cultures, carries polychlorinated biphenyl concentrations high enough to cause liver damage in humans who eat it regularly. The Inuit, who have hunted polar bears for thousands of years, knew this long before the chemistry was understood. They ate the meat sparingly and avoided certain organs entirely. The knowledge was encoded in culture before it was ever encoded in science. Your brain does not know the word biomagnification, but it knows the outcome. Across hundreds of thousands of years, the humans who ate the prey animals thrived. The ones who routinely targeted predators got sick more often. Their children survived less. The aversion was not written into a book. It was written into your body.
There is a third layer to this, one that goes beyond chemistry and into something anthropologists have called the predator-prey relationship inversion. This is a more recent idea, developed in part through the work of primatologist Richard Wrangham, whose research into early human diet and cooking transformed how scientists think about human evolution. Wrangham's argument, laid out most fully in his 2009 book, Catching Fire, is that early humans occupied a very specific ecological niche. They were opportunistic omnivores who sat in the middle of the food chain, not at the top, the middle.
What this means is that for most of human prehistory, the large predators were not your competition. They were your threat. Lions did not just eat the same prey you hunted. They hunted you. Bears did not just compete with you for resources. They killed you. The predators were not a food source. They were a cause of death. And your nervous system treated them accordingly. So when you look at predator flesh today and feel that quiet recoil, you are feeling something that was once a survival reflex. Eating the thing that could kill you required you to first get close to it, to kill it, to handle it. Every step in that process was dangerous in a way that hunting a deer or a wild boar simply was not. Your ancestors who took unnecessary risks with large predators had shorter lives. The ones who kept their distance lived long enough to have you.
This does not mean humans have never eaten predators. They have. Indigenous cultures around the world have eaten bear, wolf, crocodile, shark, and dozens of other apex predators. But notice something consistent across nearly all of these traditions. Predator eating is almost always ritualized. It is sacred. It carries symbolic weight. The warrior who eats the heart of the lion is not eating lunch. He is performing a ceremony. The hunter who consumes the bear is conducting a ritual of respect and transference. The act is removed from ordinary eating and placed in a category of the extraordinary. Anthropologist Paul Rozin at the University of Pennsylvania spent years studying what he called the laws of sympathetic magic, which are the psychological principles governing how humans categorize what they are willing to put in their bodies. One of his central findings was that humans across cultures believe at some level that you become what you eat. Eating a lion gives you lion qualities. Eating a rabbit gives you rabbit qualities. This is not rational, but it is ancient, and it explains why predator consumption, when it does happen, is almost never casual. It is always loaded with meaning. The modern world has largely insulated you from all of this. You buy meat in a package. You do not see the animal. You do not know where it sat in the food chain. But the old rules still run underneath your choices. You gravitate toward herbivores. Chicken, beef, lamb, pork. These are the animals that evolution trained your appetite to recognize as safe, efficient, and rich. The predators remain outside that circle, not because of a law, not because of a label on a package, but because of something written in you long before language existed. And here is what makes this strange and beautiful at the same time. You are not the apex predator you think you are. You never were. For almost all of human history, you were prey as much as predator. You were something that could be eaten. And the quiet instinct that keeps you from eating the animals at the top of the food chain is the same instinct that kept you from becoming food yourself.